Hey, I'm back. This is Chandler for Melda Production, and today I'm going to show you how you can layer and create a kind of like synthwave type pad and arpeggio in MSoundfactory. I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was talking about producing some synthwave, and he was trying it out, but he said like, oh, he couldn't believe how many synth tracks he was using to do this. And I'm not going to use a ton here, but I'm going to show you how you can combine two things into one and one patch, so that way you don't have like a million tracks and you're trying to keep up with everything. So let's get started. First, I'll let you hear it. So this is what it sounds like. So we're going to create something like that. We're going to go through it and I'll show you how to, combine all these elements. So let's get started with the blank copy here. If you didn't know this, you can just switch between A and B, do everything. Let me turn the pitch bend range down. I'm having some problems with my keyboard, so that'll be better. Turn the sustain all the way up, and let's turn the release up on this, like 200 milliseconds. Okay, make sure it's on polyphonic. Next thing, we want to go into the generator. I want two oscillators here. I have this first one, which is just a saw wave. That's a little bit loud, sorry about that. And I have second one here. This is going to be our square wave. Let me turn the gain down a little bit so it's not too loud. And what I want to do is combine these together. So one way I can do that is just use a ratio like this. I right click it and I click 2 and then click steal the side chain so it doesn't go out 2 here like this. Also, I want this an octave down. I'm just using the basic square wave here and saw wave for this one. But what you can do is you can actually use some analog, so single cycle waveforms, just drop those in there if you want a different sound, which I think works really well. But let's hear this now with the octave dropped on the square wave. So now we have a lower sound. I just wanted that for a little bit more bass. And I think it's probably too much, so let's adjust the ratio. I just want a little bit of bass in there, but I don't want it to take over that saw wave sound. From here, we actually need to go in and make our pad. So we're going to need a filter. I'm going to use filter basic. I'll turn the analog up, although probably not going to make that much difference because I'm not going to turn the resonance up that high. Have it maybe 25% resonance. I have a low pass filter, and we're going to have this move up in frequency. Go into here, I'm going to select an envelope, move the sustain up, and just maybe around like 500 milliseconds or so. Could sync that to tempo, but I'm not going to. And have this go up maybe 3 octaves, 3.5. Let's try this. Okay, it seems all right. Actually, something else. Instead of this, it seems like this is a little bit too, I don't know, dark. So what I'm going to do is move this back to 0, and I'm going to move my saw up. See how this sounds. I don't know. You can do whichever one sounds better to you. But so far, this is sounding good. The other thing that's very important for this sound is I want that kind of analog sound, and I'm going to turn this analog on. Now it's at 50%, which is too much. I'll show you if you put it at 100%, it's going to be drifting all over the place. This is basically going to cause the pitch to drift for each note. That sounds terrible. But if we move it around like 10%, maybe 12%, it sounds like this. Now, as you can hear, there's slight changes in pitch And those pitches are causing, like some phase differences, which are causing some volume differences. So in general, I just think it sounds better. You can set that however you want, whatever's sounding good to you. Now, after this, we can do maybe like one or two things. Let's put a chorus on there, like this. Now, to me, I think not perfect, but it's okay. I can definitely use that. And so this is our pad sound, but on the other one you heard, it had a bunch of other stuff, like an arpeggio. Now let's make an arpeggio. So here, we can't really put it in here because it's going to be hard to have this control the arpeggio and control the oscillators. But what we can do is here in the FX section, we can just add another instance of MSoundfactory. So we got MSoundfactory inside MSoundfactory. I believe now it should be blank. And you'll see it's like, hey, this is, how am I supposed to use this? This is way too big. Just pop it out here like this. We can move our toolbar out, go to the edit screen here. And let's mess with these. Let's move this up. Maybe not too much here. Put the sustain up, etc. Now what we're going to do is just go into here. Let's do a similar thing. Saw wave. Use filter basic. I'll turn that analog up again. Here, and we're going to do the same thing with the frequency. This time, we could use the envelope, but I think it's sometimes faster just to use this attack, where this is just the first part. Let's move this down. It's maybe 500 or so. And the depth up to, let's see, 3, 4 octaves. And just so I can hear it a little bit more easily, see this MSoundfactory inside here, or just Sound Factory. I'm going to turn off lane 1 so you can't hear that pad. So we're just going to hear the arpeggio. Actually, just hear pluck at first. Now, if we like that, let's arpeggiate it. So turn this on. Find whatever sequence we want. Let me try up, down. Since 16th notes, it's 2 octaves. Seems pretty good to me. Let's hear it. This is pretty good. Adjust it to your taste. Like maybe I think this is a little bit too bright, so I'm going to turn this down. Adjust that, however you feel. We can do similar stuff before. I might want to, add some analog. I don't know why it's going to 50%, but let me turn that down. Maybe move 15% or so. And I might want to increase the release a little bit too. If I don't want it quite so harsh, I can increase the attack like this. Now, if I think, this is pretty good, we can hear them both together. So I can turn on track 1 again. And I'm going to use a mixer here. I could use the ratio again, but I think it's probably getting too loud. So I'm going to go into the mixer, right click it like I just did before. 1 and 2, and just steal it from 2. You could steal it from 1 too, but it's already there. Click close. I'm just going to turn these down by 3 decibels each. This. And then let's play it. Make sure it's on the mix mode. Seems okay, but maybe this is a little bit too low, so I'm going to go back into this instance of MSoundfactory where I have the arpeggio, and let's move it up an octave, see how this sounds. Now, so far, this is sounding, how I want, but it still needs a little bit more. What we can do is we can make this sound like it's coming out of an old tape or something, maybe like an old VHS tape or something. So the first thing I want to do is add a little bit of saturation. I like to add this beforehand. So just go under here, going to use the saturator, and we can play it, and it's just going to make it a little bit louder, and you probably won't hear much. You can't hear much. But let's try turning it down, let's say 10 down and 10 up, and let's listen to it now. You should probably hear some quite audible distortion. So that's probably too much, but find some place maybe right in the middle, -6, +6. Find whatever level is, good for you. So maybe for this one, try -3, 3. There, I can hear the distortion, but it's not overpowering. And anything in the high end, that little like hiss, that tearing sound, we're gonna get rid of that right now by just using a bandpass filter. Now we're gonna go in here, high pass. Now, make sure when you do this, you're actually listening to what notes you're playing. So, of course, you could use this, just as a preset, but generally I would set the high pass and low pass filter depending on what I'm playing. If I'm playing a bass and I move this up way too high, you're not going to hear any bass parts, which is not good. And same thing if I just set it, I'll set it, 57 hertz, but I'm playing some high pad, that's not good either. So I prefer just to do it by ear like this. I'll do the same thing for the low pass filter. I'll set this at 6 and just move these and use my ear. And there we go. And this is sounding pretty good. I don't know if I should turn down the saturator. Well, maybe you can hear it. I would probably turn that down just a little bit. Maybe this is still a little bit too much, but for the sake of this demo, so you can hear it, I'll leave it where it is. The last part, if I really want it to sound like an old tape, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add vibrato. So this one always, it's over here in spectral. I always imagine it's in modulation, but it's not. So we're going to take this, as you add it in here, you're going to see this is way too much. We're going to need to turn the rate down and maybe the depth, like this. So now we have lots of moving parts, and for me, this is sounding pretty good. One last thing we need, because this is like based on 80s style stuff, we're gonna need some reverb. So what I'm gonna do is go into M Turbo Reverb, and the one that actually I believe I designed this one. I really like this one. It's called Randy Hall. There, and we're gonna turn the modulation up. Here, I might want to turn the mix down, maybe 25. Turn the size down. And now let's hear it all together. Now that's the type of sound that I want. Of course, you can add other things in here. So let's say if you wanted, okay, inside here for the coming out of the arpeggio, maybe I wanted to add a phaser or something. I could definitely do that. Let's try this suitcase phaser. Hear how this sounds? Or anything. I'm just using those as examples. You could use the lay on there or whatever you want. But I think now this is getting close to, actually, maybe this is exactly the sound I wanted. And here I'm using these types of, analog sounding elements by using this analog here. But you could actually mix these together. I could use this as an analog pad, but I could go into this instance of MSoundfactory and, for example, use the FM module to, get an old FM style sound, like a old synthesizer you use from the 80s, a digital synthesizer. And that's cool too. There's all sorts of possibilities in here. You could mix, vintage stuff with more modern sounds, etc. But check that out yourself. Hopefully this gave you a good idea of how to generate these types of sounds. And luckily, even though this is a somewhat complex sound, I think it's all in one plugin. So that way, when you're looking at it and mixing things, you're like, okay, everything is right here. I don't have to go through and mess with a bunch of different tracks and think, is this the part of the pad? Is this part of the pad? It's all in one place. So if you like this, give me a thumbs up. Any questions or comments, leave those down below and check out all the other plugins at meldaproduction.com. Till next time, see you.